We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson here in the studio today with Mike Nuss and Dane McKinney, and we have a very special guest today. I'm a little nervous, actually, for this episode. We've got Gary Coe in the studio. Thanks for joining us today, Gary.
You bet.
Gary, I got to tell you, I think I'm a little bit starstruck. You're one of my heroes. I really look up to people like you who have built the things that you've built. So to give the audience a little bit of background, Gary, just a super genuine great guy, first off. Owns a lot of apartment buildings, has almost 500 units, has built one of the largest towing companies in the nation at one point, and owns a very large auto auction. So Speeds Towing, Speeds Auto Auction. You've been working hard for a lot of your life, and I love your story. And I've talked to you before about how you've taken care of your family and helped sort of bring everybody into the fold. So I want to get into that a little bit. But before we dive in, I want to just ask. It sounds like real estate is relatively new for you. You've mostly been in business most of your life, and then real estate over the last 10 or 15 years. So tell us a little bit about just how it all starts with you. Like, it was your family, was your dad super entrepreneurial and had business and led you into business? Or how did you just take us back as far as you can and walk us through your life a little bit on how you built this empire.
1958, my dad bought or leased a service station in downtown Portland. And in 1966, I joined him in that. After a couple of years of college, I told him I didn't want to go back to school, and he looked at his hands and he said, I always wish for something better for you. Because his hands were pretty beat up from...
He wanted you to work behind a desk instead of at a service station. Were you pumping gas, or were you actually working on cars?
Pumping gas, parking cars.
Parking cars, okay.
Downtown Portland, we parked about 70 cars a day.
Okay.
And which involved a lot of running, because it was always the guy in the back of the row that wanted to, no matter how you try to plan it. So we had one tow truck.
Okay.
And in 1968, 69, there was a terrible snowstorm. Probably 3 weeks long. And I ran that one truck 16, 18 hours a day.
Oh, wow. Pulling cars out of the ditch?
Yeah. And when we got all done, at the end of that snowstorm, AAA called me up to the office and said, would you like to be our main contractor for downtown? Yeah.
That's a nice.
You'll have to buy another truck. Or two or three. Okay. So I soon realized that we weren't going to make it running AAA calls, because they don't pay anything.
Yeah.
So Burnside was Auto Row, and we were on Burnside. So this is in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
It really was Auto Row. So I just went up there to all the dealers, and it took me a long time, but as we would gain more business, I'd replace myself as the driver and then go out and sell until I had to be in a truck, and then I had to replace myself as a driver again. So we built a pretty good business. I mean, at one point we had 150 trucks and 14 locations.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So, was Dad still involved at that point, or had you taken over by then?
No, Dad ran the repair shop part of the business. We moved out of the service station in 1970.
Okay.
And he ran the shop end of the business, and I ran the towing end of the business. But we were all one business, so we were partners.
How long did you have that AAA contract for?
32 years, if I remember right.
Okay, so you never got rid of it. You just expanded beyond it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you say you were parking cars, Did your dad own some land with the service station that you guys were selling parking for, or?
Yes, it was a small block at Broadway and Burnside, and that lot still exists, but the service station is gone.
Okay.
But yeah, we parked about 70 cars a day.
Was the tow truck originally to take people off of your parking lot?
No.
Okay.
Let me. Can I tell you a story about towing?
Please do.
There's two kinds of towing. There's towers that are rescue people, and that's what Speeds is. And there's towers who impound illegally parked cars.
Yes.
And that's what Retriever does.
Okay.
So
you let your son do the dirty work.
Dad and I formed that company and established a different name and different identity.
Okay.
Just so that it didn't mar the reputation
of Speeds. Yeah. Okay. So there's a need for both, but obviously you get a lot worse Google reviews with moving people's cars that are parked in the wrong spot than helping them get out of the ditch during the snowstorm.
Yep.
Okay. So towing did you just fall in love with that business, or you could see the writing on the wall that this was going to be your future to build a big towing empire?
I love towing. I love helping people, and I was out in the truck myself for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Until I couldn't anymore because there was too much to do.
Yeah.
Too much business to manage and people to manage.
So today are you involved in the day-to-day business still, or?
No. I retired at the end of 2011.
Okay.
At age 66.
Oh.
And ran for the state senate.
Okay.
So 2012, I spent the whole year up until November campaigning.
Wow.
That's lost.
That's got to be an interesting year of your life to look back on.
Yeah. And during that year, we had to move my folks to an assisted living. And then my folks turned over the management of co-properties to me.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So your dad started co-properties.
Yes.
And you said this was in the 90s or
94.
94. So why did he do that? Was he trying to build a portfolio for your family, or what was he looking to do?
It was, yes, it was, he bought the first apartment in 1966.
Okay.
And he said, "What have I done? I need to move there and see what this is all about." So he moved from his house
into the apartment?
Into one of the apartments.
Do you remember where that apartment building was?
Oh, yeah.
Where was it located? Or where is it located?
Jameson Road, right across the street from Valley Plaza.
Okay.
Right near Jesuit High School.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he owned that from 66, and I finally sold it in, I don't know, 16, 17, 18.
Owned it for a long time.
Yeah, a long time. And and we spent a lot of money. We had a flood. Spent a lot of money remodeling. Way too much.
Yeah.
I learned some lessons there.
I'm sure you did. We'd love to hear about it. Maybe that's a deal we can talk about later. So Dad bought an apartment complex, moved in there in the 60s. Were you involved at all in the property management side or in real estate at that point, or you're just focused only on the towing business?
Not involved at all until 2012.
After you retired?
Yes.
So real estate became kind of your retirement job or hobby?
I hired a guy that I knew well to take my place as CEO of a group of automotive businesses. We had an auto repair shop and a wrecking yard and a possessory lien service and towing, the 2 towing operations, and just some dealerships. We had a lot of stuff going on. And in fact, in 2009, I was either the owner or the managing partner of 13 LLCs.
Okay. You got a few things going on.
So I hired Mike Porter to be my replacement CEO.
For all 13?
Yes.
Whoa.
After I lost the election, then I thought, well, should I go back to work? But I already gave the job to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So that's focused me on real estate.
Okay. Do you love real estate?
I do. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The check that comes every month
All right.
from you.
You like cash flow. Yeah. Yeah, we're lucky enough to manage for Gary. Thank you.
How many
for your
how many
business.
buildings do you manage? Do you manage all 10 complexes?
No. There's 2 in Pendleton
Oh, okay.
that are out of reach.
We'll have to expand so we can help you out over there.
But
You almost did earlier this year.
the guy over there does a good
job.
for me. Yeah.
Well, we're honored to have you as a client. Gary is just one of our favorite. I mean, you're so easy to work with. So thank you for your business. So you own 10 complexes. You said it's just shy of about 500 units, 400 and something units.
476 units, yeah.
And so in 2011, when Dad passed over Coe Properties, how was it similar sized, or did you grow it from something?
No, we had that one complex.
Just one.
Yeah, one complex had, no, there was more than that. 71 units and a duplex and a fourplex.
Okay. Was Dad a no debt kind of guy?
Yes. Absolutely didn't want to owe anybody any money.
Wow.
Are you a no debt kind of guy?
No.
But he bought the buildings, the properties you were operating the businesses out of, right?
Yes.
As well. And then the apartment building and then a duplex and a fourplex.
Yes.
So that was the real estate empire you essentially had to work with?
Yes.
Okay. You did a good job of being a good steward of the profits and getting you a good pieces to then put to better use.
Yeah, set you up nice. Kind of the same way you're setting your family up.
Dad would, whatever the highest interest rate, whichever note had the highest interest rate, he'd make double and triple payments on that.
Get rid of that one first, yeah.
Yep.
So he'd take on debt and leverage and then pay it down quickly.
He wouldn't take on very much debt.
Yeah.
Tell us why you like debt more than Dad liked debt.
Well, that's how you get ahead, is using other people's money.
Exactly right.
But he didn't teach you that, so how'd you learn that?
Did you start it with debt on speeds?
I don't know. Well, we had a lot of debt for tow trucks. I mean,
You have a whole fleet.
I'd say half of them were paid for, but
Okay.
yes. So when we went into that consolidation, we eliminated all that debt. Because we did a stock-for-stock trade, publicly traded. So why am I comfortable with debt? Well, there are people who are highly leveraged, and I'm not one. I'd say we are less than 40%.
Okay.
And I'm comfortable with that, because if things go sideways, I remember this one complex. Oh, this is a good story. The West Side Light Rail project was going through Beaverton, and there was this set of apartments is in the way. So TriMet advertised bids on demolishing this apartment. It was a 6-unit, and 4-unit. And Dad bid $500 a piece. And they said, well, you're the low bidder, but how are you going to demolish them for $500? He says, I'm not. I'm going to move them.
Yep.
So we had a company come in and jacked them up and put them on wheels, and we towed them down the street with our heavy-duty tow truck. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
And Dad bought a block, excuse me, not a block, a piece of land about 4 blocks away, but not all 3 units would fit because the city required a certain amount of parking. So he went down Center Street about 10 blocks and bought another old house with an apple orchard, came in with our medium-duty tow trucks, pulled the apple trees out by the roots, and cleared for the fourplex.
Wow. Was this in the portfolio when you inherited it? You still had those buildings, or had he sold those by then?
He he gave the 2-6. Those buildings ended up connected, so there's 12 units, 114th and Center, and he gave those to my wife and me and my sister and her husband.
Okay.
So we're 4 equal partners in that.
Okay. You still own it?
No,
Okay. You've traded that into something bigger.
we did, and we sold it and bought 28 units in Lake Grove,
Okay.
and that ended up being a maintenance hog. So I sold it and bought 61 units in Sheridan, Oregon, which
Yep.
you manage.
Yep.
And so that, from the 12 units to 61 units, that is a separate entity than co-property.
Okay. So part of your business plan, it seems to be you're taking older assets up in kind of the Portland metro, trading them into smaller tertiary markets, but upgrading into more units and newer units.
Newer units.
And that is just simply because you don't want the CapEx. You don't want the maintenance. You want to try to get buildings that aren't going to just bleed out in maintenance.
That's correct.
Okay.
What's your oldest property right now?
One of the properties it'd probably be either the one in Sheridan, which is mid to late 90s,
Okay.
or a group of duplexes in Pendleton.
Okay.
Dane's setting you up. He's going to try to buy them from you.
I already told him we wanted to. That was our first conversation we had. Was when the time's right. We'd love to be the bidder.
Do you mind talking about the properties you sold that your dad acquired? This is really interesting to me. So for a couple of reasons. One, it's development land, prime development land in Portland. My office is actually 2 blocks from the property that you talked about on Broadway, 6th and Broadway. So it kind of strikes a little bit of a heart. But what's it like? Because essentially, if I heard you right, you started selling some of the towing property to trade into apartments right as Portland was coming out of the recession, going into what was kind of the first wave of that apartment boom. Did you have a lot of people kind of wanting to buy that land at that time, or what was it like to sell that property, and what was your mindset getting around prepping to essentially convert it into a higher and better income stream by purchasing apartments?
It worked out for me as a better income stream. But one of the things with commercial properties is, and I'm not talking multifamily, I'm talking about commercial properties, is sometimes you can have an empty for a long time. And sometimes you have a tenant who can't pay the rent. So those are problems. Whereas apartments, you always have somebody paying the rent, even if you have a bunch of empties. And one of the reasons why I'm don't want to be highly leveraged is that 12 units that I told you about in Beaverton that we moved there. At one point, we had 6 empties out of 12. And I thought, man, I'm glad we don't have a mortgage on this, because if we did, we'd be feeding it instead of
it feeding you.
Yeah. So, but you always have somebody paying the rent.
So I don't have to take a wild guess here. It sounds like cash flow is your favorite economic benefit of real estate. You're not really buying for appreciation. You're not are you tapping equity through new debt and trying to do like cash out refis and stuff? Or are you just paying these things off slowly and trying to get as much cash flow as you can?
Yeah, we're paying them off slowly. I have intentions of paying towards the higher interest rates like Dad did. But the highest one is the one in Sheridan, and I just refinanced it. In fact, when we bought that, we financed it with Washington Federal at 2 7/8.
That'll never happen again.
3-year fixed.
Okay.
Went to variable. 770.
Ooh, ouch.
Man, that was a hard.
That hurt. You didn't see that coming.
No.
You probably would have taken 10-year money at 4% instead.
Yeah.
So, so I had to refinance that.
Just because it was termed out, like the loan had expired, like you were forced into a refi. You wouldn't have refied otherwise, right?
No, I refied to get away from
Then the 7.7, yeah.
But we only got to 6.25.
Oh,
So
in today's world, that's not all that bad.
that may be my least favorite property, and there's two reasons why: the interest rate that we're at right now, and the fact that I spend $35,000 a year on flood insurance right next to a river.
Tell us a little bit about going into these tertiary markets. You go into markets that a lot of people are scared to invest in. Do you study these small places? What makes you decide you like a certain area to invest in versus another one?
That's a very good question. In fact, it was Chase. Chase had a really nice program for apartments, but they wouldn't go into those markets.
Right.
And so I had to find other financing, which has worked out fine. I liked dealing with Chase because they were easy to do business with.
Yeah, I remember the first deal we did together, I think was right here in Salem, and you financed it with Chase. Of course, you had like 80% down or something, so they didn't mind funding it right away. It was a pretty easy loan, if I'm remembering right, with Franklin or with Howard Commons.
Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was $17 million, and we financed $7 million.
Yeah. They tend to like that. Very low leverage.
Yeah.
But you got sexy financing on that one too, didn't you? Get like a 299 or something on Howard?
No, I think it's 3. Oh, 319.
319. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I only know that because I saw it a couple days ago.
Not nearly as sexy when it starts with a 3.
I know.
It's only 0.2, but that 0.2.
I could go for a 3 right now.
How did you two meet? Was it a brokerage relationship to begin with, or property management?
Gary and I met, we met actually, I think you were looking at a property I had listed in Kaiser, not far from where we're sitting right now.
Yes.
And we struck up a conversation. I found out he was the Speeds towing guy. We started talking about cars, and I come from the car background, so we didn't even talk about the building. We started talking about Gary's car collection. I think you were telling me how you had 14 Mustangs or so. You collect Mustangs, right? Is that your favorite car?
Probably.
You probably have more than that now. Yeah. So anyway, we're kindred spirits in the car world, and then here we happen to blend over into the real estate world. He didn't end up buying that deal, but then later on, I represented sellers in other transactions that Gary bought.
It was inevitable.
Yeah, we just kind of kept coming back around, and then eventually he brought his management business over, and we've had a great working relationship with Gary and his broker.
The beautiful thing about having a long-term vision on business and real estate and relationships is it'll happen. It's inevitable.
Oh, I think relationships are really important.
It's one of the things I like about real estate. Coming out of cars, I don't know if towing was like this, but I felt like in the car world, it wasn't as friendly or collaborative. It was a little more cutthroat, I guess, maybe would be the way to say it. Like it just felt a little harder, a little, I don't know, dirtier or something. But real estate to me just feels like most of the people, one of the reasons I got into real estate was I wanted to have a different interaction with people. And I don't know if maybe just real estate people are more laid back because their bills are paid or what. There's like a different personality type with people that own real estate than in maybe some other industries. And honestly, it's what I was looking for. No matter, besides the fact you can build a lot of wealth and make money and do all these things, which is awesome, I still wouldn't want to do that if I was in a similar industry where I felt like I was having this, confrontational kind of interaction with people all the time. So it's cool, especially to have somebody like you on the show and talk about the way you built your portfolio and stuff. I mean, this is just, there's not a lot of industries, I don't think, where people share their secrets and try to help each other grow. And at least we seem to be surrounded in a community where everybody's trying to help each other, which is one of my favorite parts of real estate. So, guys, I've been taking up all the time.
Let's go back to 1966 to 70. I really want to know that period of time where you're towing cars. You have a massive snowstorm. You tow massive cars. So you built value, built skills. You showed those skills to a huge player, an insurance company, and then they kind of were this supplemental contract for you to start expanding. And it sounds like that's when you really got into a sales role with Speeds. Is now you're tow truck driver, salesman, tow truck driver, salesman, tow truck driver. How many employees did you have when you started that? And like in 1966, when you're getting out of school and your dad's looking at his hands and saying, I want something different for you. There's a transition period there of where you went from, I'm assuming, not many employees to a lot more. And I'm really fascinated about how you grew as a person during that period of time, going away from hustling cars, parking cars, obviously a very sociable person. So you took the skills that you learned when you were young and then turned them into a sales job to help grow the business. That fascinates me. I'd love to hear you talk about that.
I was really shy,
Were you?
terribly shy.
Okay.
But nobody was going to walk into our service station and ask me to do their towing for them, like a dealership.
Right.
So I had to go to them. And my dad said, how do you do that? How can you go in? And I said, I don't have a lot of choice. If I'm going to build this business, I've got to go ask for the business. So I would still say I'm shy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I've had to get a lot bolder, and there's things like, well, a lot of things have happened in our industry. There's a big trade show in Baltimore every year. And so I've been a guest lecturer on a variety of subjects for the towing industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just kind of get over being bashful. But I still, when I'm in a crowd of people, some people freely go up and start a conversation, and I lay back and wait for somebody to come and talk to me.
Well, it sounds like you're a prime suspect to be a speaker at our SRE Investor Meetup, and maybe Investor Lab too. We'll get you up on stage.
I love how you just said you used a platform of education as a way to get out of your bashfulness. I think that's a useful way for a lot of people to get out of their bashfulness.
Are you like that, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, very much. People think I'm a social extra. I'm an introvert.
Yeah, I can tell when you get on stage, you got to flip a switch and be like stage Mike versus
it's a character.
Yeah.
But like Trevor, I think has grown significantly because he had to
So
get on
much.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day when we were at SRE. The first time that he spoke publicly, I think, I mean, I don't really, but for sure in real estate, was at the Corvallis meetup. There were like 40 people there, and he was sweating. He was all day long. He like couldn't even work because he was so nervous to get on stage, and he had this whole presentation built out. We had way too much to, and both of us were speaking. We both like, he invited both of us to get up there and talk about what we had done. I had done nothing at the time.
But you were the sidekick.
I was just a sidekick, and also probably moral support. Yeah, because the guy who hosts it knew that I like talking too much, is my guess.
Well, to Gary's point, I think public speaking is most people's like biggest fear. We've talked about that before. And some of that is just doing it. Mike says all the time, you just need the reps. You just do it over and over and over again. And one day you get up there and it's not as nerve-wracking. You're always a little bit nervous before you start. But it's just like doing this. You know, when you start out, you're kind of like, what are we going to do? And then we get going. And
exactly.
It's
You just got to get in the flow.
Yeah.
Did you have visions of growing the company when you were starting? Like, at what point did you say, we're just going to grow this thing?
I don't know if I ever did. It just seemed like the natural thing to do.
The next best step?
And another opportunity, and you ask for some more business. And here in 1980, recession, 80, things slowed down. I had some extra trucks because things slowed down. So I started an operation in Gresham and put those 3 trucks to work. It just seemed
appropriate.
Just made sense.
Yeah.
How many employees did you have when it was the biggest it got?
327. At the point in 1997 when we merged into a national consolidation, we had 327 people at that point.
And you became publicly traded at that point,
Yes.
and you back out of that now, or you're still part of that?
No, we backed out of that.
Okay.
At the end of 2000, I was able to buy back the Portland market.
Okay.
And when I did that, I resold the heavy duty and resold the Vancouver operation. But Seattle operations were already merged with other people, and same thing in Salem.
Okay. How's a deal like that go down? Are there just a lot of attorneys involved, or are there brokers? Like who finds the buyers for these businesses and navigates all that?
When we started, the main manufacturer of wreckers, Miller Industries, started this consolidation, and his idea was he asked us to all read the book, The Making of a Blockbuster.
Okay.
He talked about blockbuster video and waste management and AutoNation.
Okay. So a book about case studies about big companies that went public.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the things that Wayne Huizinga did.
Okay.
It was really
Yeah, AutoNation. Oh, he did Blockbuster too?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Interesting.
What?
Huizinga. Yeah, that's a book we should all read.
We're gonna do book club, Deal Junkies book
Making
club.
a Blockbuster.
Oh, you started something. Gary started something.
So when we, so they were putting together this consolidation. Bill Miller's idea was vertical integration, manufacturing, distribution, and end users. So he bought 10 of his 100 dealers across the country. And we ended up with 119 towing companies across the country. My job in that consolidation was the West Coast vice president. So it was my job to go recruit other towing companies
to come into the consolidation.
to join the consolidation.
Okay.
And I think we had 19 in the western region.
Okay.
So that got me over being bashful.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done an awful lot of sales for somebody who's shy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I guess I have.
That's very incredible. A lot more than almost anybody could say they've done.
But your heads down in the forest, in the trees, working in the trees.
Just got to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like then that was in the 80s you were forming the big conglomerate at that point?
No, it was 97.
97. Okay.
97, early 97 to the end of 2000.
Okay.
And so finally, the consolidation didn't work because why would towing companies buy from their competitor?
Mm.
And so not only did we wind down, and some companies bought big pieces of that, several operations. I bought part of mine back.
Okay. So you said it was Miller was the
Miller.
company. So they made that so that they suddenly lost business because competing tow companies were not buying equipment from them anymore.
So the banks that were financing Miller says you need to get back to your core competence of manufacturing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So they also sold the 10 dealerships, and we bought 2 of them,
All right.
and they were in L.A. So I was going back and forth to L.A. managing these dealerships from afar. Or we built.
Wow.
That sounds hard.
How many years were you doing that for?
That was from 2003 to end of 2010.
Man alive. That had to be draining.
Are the
I
other
would
people in your family like you, or are you like a standalone?
One of my sons was on fire. He's the guy that runs the auctions.
Okay.
He's the guy that races with me.
Oh, you race cars too,
Yeah.
of course.
And yeah, of course. So he runs the 2 auctions, and he's in his spare time, He remodeled a vacation house. He does car projects, his own car projects, and he just bought a building a couple of weeks ago that needs a bunch of up.
He's a hands-on guy.
Yeah.
What kind of building?
A big, ugly metal building.
I love it.
I wouldn't have bought
I was gonna say, I can't believe you let him do that.
So he
Well,
runs,
that's what a car guy should buy, is a big, ugly metal building, right?
so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So Dad was like this, you were like this, and you have a son that's like that, and you guys kind of stand out as carrying on that tradition of just you're the hustlers in the family.
But his son is not yet.
Yeah, well, he's young, right?
He's 28 or 29,
Huh.
and he works for the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab.
Okay. Different passion.
But I just gifted him a share in the property in Sheridan.
Oh, okay.
There's 4 partners in that: my sister and her husband, and co-properties.
Yeah.
And I was the 4th partner, and I gave him
Your shares. Okay.
Yep.
Was that to try to spur some interest in him in real estate?
Well, and he is the second replacement trustee.
Okay.
When I'm gone, somebody's got to run this business.
I think we need to meet this guy. We'll help inspire him. We'll help explain to him what is being handed to him. So
There'll be nothing better than to get him around Trevor and Dane.
Be good.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. So where's he living? Is he up in Washington?
Seattle.
Okay. Gotcha.
But his passion is in working at a crime lab. You're saying like that's.
I don't know. His passion is camera, hiking, and photography.
Oh, he's a nature guy.
Yeah.
All right. We can still do that and make a bunch of money and buy buildings.
Did any of your sons
They go
go
well
to college?
together.
Yeah.
Did you push any of your sons to go to college? Did they go to college?
The son that owns Retriever Towing does have a master's degree.
Oh, in
And the son at the crime lab, the grandson at the crime lab, has a bachelor's degree.
okay.
None of the other sons.
Did you go to school?
I went to 2 years at Portland State.
Okay.
Then it wasn't for you.
I don't have an associate degree, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This was the conversation you had where you said, "Dad, I don't want to go back to school," and he
Yeah.
said, "I was hoping for something different for you."
one of my favorite classes there was called business math. But what it was is the study of probabilities.
Mm.
And if you think about bidding on contracts,
Mm-hmm.
it fit right in.
Study
I've used that.
It's like a poker match. What's going to happen is, what are they going to do? What move are they going to make?
business is all about probabilities. Evaluate. That's how you evaluate risk. Is the probability of bad things happening, and evaluate potential. What's the probability of getting good things to happen?
Potential of a piece of property.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to get back to. We were talking about the markets because you invest in some small markets.
Yes.
And what's your analysis look like? I mean, what's going through your head when you're looking at a new market to go into?
I definitely don't want to be in the greater Portland area, partially because of taxes. I mean, one of the battles I'm at with the city right now is over the Metro Supportive Housing Tax. They want co-properties to pay that, and I said there's no part of co-properties. We have no income from the metro area. And if having an office in north of Beaverton triggers that,
It's just your address, your mailing address.
we can get rid of that. But I've actually moved to Arizona. We have a house in Arizona.
Okay.
And I have an Arizona driver's license and registered to vote in Arizona.
Good for you. What part of Arizona?
Eloy is about halfway between Tucson and Phoenix.
Okay. It's nice and warm. So you come up here in the summer, and then you're down there in the winter?
Yes.
Snowbirding.
Yes.
All right.
Do you golf?
Not really.
He races cars, bro.
Yeah, I figured.
Who would golf when you're listen to this
so
guy.
slow. It's too slow.
You can drive the golf cart like a race car. Come on.
They just don't go fast enough.
That's true. I'm always complaining that they don't go faster.
What's the fastest car you own?
It is a 57 Ford top sportsman car, and I've gone as fast as 747, 180.
In the quarter mile.
Yeah, quarter mile.
Holy crap! What's it got on it? A jet engine?
No, a little Mustang engine.
Really?
Yes, it's a 327-inch Coyote.
Oh, a Coyote motor. Yeah, like they put in the Raptors or in the little
So my
two-wheel
son's
drive
car,
trucks.
my son's car is a 67 Mustang replica. It's a fiberglass, and he's gone 210. So his is a whole bunch faster, and he said, "Dad, you need to drive this car." And I said, "I don't think I need to go that fast."
210, 180 is enough for you?
That's enough.
Sounds like a wise
Man,
guy,
wow.
smart guy.
Are you still racing today?
24 was supposed to be my last season,
Yeah.
but we had a really screwed up season. Motorhome failure, engine failures. So Woodburn, second weekend of July, I'm racing. It's a doubleheader.
Yeah.
I'm racing
Racing in
that race.
both?
Yeah.
And you bringing that car, or are you bringing something else?
No, I'm bringing a 19 Cobra Jet Mustang.
Okay.
That's the one I race most of the time.
So if I'm doing my math right, you're about 80 years old?
I will be in 2 months.
Okay. So is that when you cut it off, you said 80, I'm done?
My wife says there has to be a line sometime. And she's right.
It's interesting, a guy with your demeanor liking to go that fast. I mean, that's because you're a very
Yeah.
calm, I don't know, you have a very calming presence. It seems like somebody that wants to go 200 miles an hour is a little bit crazier than you are. You seem pretty cool-headed to me.
I would agree with that. I was surprised when you said racing in cars. Very surprised.
So at some point this turned in, you said 13 LLCs. You had car dealerships and stuff. Are those still part of your portfolio? Are there still car dealerships, or did you guys get out of that?
My wife at the time and I parted, and she was involved in several of our businesses, but we had a 19-page prenuptial, and we had defined percentages of ownership, and we traded some business assets, and her son was very involved in that business, and so he runs it. She ended up with my share of those,
Okay.
and I ended up with some other things.
Okay.
So it all worked.
So the car businesses still exist. You're just not involved.
It's not a car, but it's tow trucks.
Oh, they're just okay. You're selling tow trucks, dealerships to sell tow trucks.
Building and selling tow trucks
Okay.
and used tow trucks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And tied. You see, things just kind of fit together.
Yeah.
So one of my businesses, we just closed it at the end of 24, was called Pacific Auto Acceptance, but what we did was finance used tow trucks for towing companies with terrible credit.
Okay.
And along with that comes some repos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the repo guy. And repos aren't as bad as you think they are.
Yeah.
You don't have to go steal the car.
Yeah.
You go in and talk to the people. These
Yeah.
are business people. You go in and talk to them and say, look, you've made this and this and this commitments, and
Yeah.
you haven't been able to meet any of them. You need to give me the truck. So one time down in Salton Sea, California, I was there, came there with my motorhome and talked this guy out of a truck. I told my wife, I need you to either drive the motorhome or drive the truck away from here. Because it took me an hour, but talked the guy in, he took his personal stuff out, I pulled it out in the street. She says, I've never driven anything that big. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't just leave it here. I need you to do this. We got to the first intersection, and she said, and this is gravel roads. And she said, this is dangerous. I'm sorry, we need to go just a little further.
Pushing her out of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now she's a business owner.
Yeah.
All started with that comfort zone push.
How involved are you with your buildings? Do you visit your buildings? I know you're talking to property managers and you're giving us direction on what you want to do. Have you ever worked on units yourself or spent a lot of time running some projects? Like you said, you had a big flood thing. Like, how are you spending a lot of your time on real estate in your day, or are you focused on other things?
I guess focused on other things, but it does take a fair amount of time to just manage all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very hands-on on the apartments.
Okay.
But I do get involved in major projects. For example, the one in Sheridan, I contracted with a company to completely redo the landscaping. And there's a place in Sweet Home that we had to we had to create a spot for the dumpster in a parking lot because the garbage enclosure was right out front in the street and it was messy.
Okay.
But the parking lot had a slope to it. So I had to install some of those curbs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to drill the asphalt and pound in rebar. And
You did that yourself?
yeah.
All right. So you're a little bit hands-on.
So a little bit, but
Yeah.
but not a lot.
Not a lot?
No.
So throughout your day, are you getting a lot of emails or phone calls about what to do at your properties, or what's it like to own nearly 500? I'm guessing that in your family, you're the head wizard. You're the guy that makes the decisions. Are there other people that are helping you, or are you kind of a one-man show when it comes to representing the ownership?
Yes.
So you're making the decisions.
The Coe Properties is just my sister and I. And
Okay.
my deal with my sister was she'd take care of Mom and I would take care of the business. And now that Mom's passed away, I'm still taking care of the business. And that's just,
And that's good. You're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you take care of your
just
sister.
like I'm happy because you send me a check every month.
Yeah.
Well, she's happy because I send her
Her a check every month. Yeah. Yeah. You always love the people sending you money, don't you?
Just a big stream.
My
Big stream of happiness and joy.
You know, our clients don't like us as much when we ask them to send us money for some reason.
I still like you guys, but that's about all you've
You're
ever
new
done.
to this game.
It's about all you've ever done to me. If I get an email from any of our portfolio managers, I usually know it's a request, not a gift. Yeah.
You're not
Someday it'll be a gift.
You're 25 years old.
Yeah.
Just wait.
I have plenty
It'll
of
come.
time.
It'll
I have
come.
plenty of time.
All right. What other questions you guys have for Gary?
No, it was good. I want to dive into specific deals on the next episode, but outside of that,
Where are you going to take it from here, Gary? Are you happy with what you have, or do you think you're still going to be making some moves in terms of your real estate portfolio?
Good question. I want to build the business some more. But I don't want to be highly leveraged. So right now, I am accumulating money so that I can do the next deal. But one of the things that's holding me back right now is the current interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
When we get down to a more friendly basis, and I believe that we will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's a year or 3 years, I don't know. But this is political, but I'm really excited about what's going on.
Sure. A lot of people are. There's a buzz in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like the business environment's going to get a little easier to transact. Interest rates will slowly start to come down.
Yes.
People, I think sentiment is changing to where people are feeling like, okay, at least a lot of the uncertainty's out of the air, whether or not you love or hate what's happening, at least we know what's happening.
Got a call yesterday, somebody wanted to buy Howard Commons.
Oh,
Well, it's not really for sale,
mm-hmm.
but anything's for sale at a price.
The right price.
But here's the problem. I'm giving up a 3.19%,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have to pay 6%.
Yeah. So the next deal's
the
got to be
replacement
twice
property.
as sexy as the deal you're selling. Yeah.
So really makes you think about how much you have to get for that to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Just like a homeowner right now that's got, 2.75 on their house or something. They're thinking, man, it'd be nice to move across town or bigger house or this or that. And it's like, but we got 2.75, so we're going to stay here. I think everybody's sort of a little bit on lockdown just because they're in better debt than what they can replace it with today.
And yet the 6 today, or 6 1/4, or wherever we're at, maybe even 5 1/2. Think about that compared to back when we were 17%.
Yeah.
1980s.
Were you buying properties at that time, or just your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a piece of property. I wanted to build a house. I couldn't get a loan for the life of me. Excellent credit. You just plain couldn't get a loan. So I ended up building the house out of my pocket.
Wow.
That's a different time.
Yeah, I know I look old, Gary, but I was only like 5 or 6 years old when that happened. But I do remember my dad talking the stories about, he was in the car business, and so people lined up around the block to get gas, and you had to get gas every other day. So the oil embargo and 18% interest rates, and you had to do seller carry or some sort of creative wrap financing to get into deals. So it was definitely, in those days, I'm sure people had to be super creative in order to buy and sell real estate. I think we've kind of been in a similar boat in the last couple years. It's really been on pause unless you can get super creative. So
Yeah, Gary just explained why.
yeah.
I'm curious, so your dad was anti-debt. He would take it on, but he'd pay it down right away. You like debt, but you also don't like leverage. So how do you determine your leverage ability, what you're willing to take on from a debt standpoint?
You know, if a deal comes up that I need to put only 30% down in order to make it work, that's fine, because I have plenty of others. We have a couple that we own outright, no debt on them, and we have a couple of others that the debt's very, very low. So if you look at the whole portfolio, like I said, we're a little under 40%.
So you're considering your global leverage, but you'll go to a higher leverage on the next deal as long as you're happy with your global leverage.
Yep.
That makes sense. How many so are all the properties in the 10 properties that you have, are any of those just 100% co-properties? And what's the breakdown on ownership for that? I assume you're the decision maker still, but
They're all owned by co-properties except for the one in Sheridan.
okay.
It's a separate entity.
And the breakdown on co is you and your sister?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
50-50.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what do you like more, building a business or playing with real estate?
Isn't that the same thing?
Yes, it is. Great answer. I'm really curious though. So as you're expanding this business and you're getting out of your comfort zone and you're in the trees, taking the next best incremental step, it sounds like you're in the 90s. That's when the light rail expansion happened, and that's when your dad starts moving properties and picking up properties. So he's now in the real estate world. What is your conversation with him like? Are you having conversations about what he's doing in real estate and he's mentoring you on the business side? I'm really curious where your leadership came from as you were making these decisions, both from a real estate and a business standpoint.
The answer is I didn't get involved in his real estate
Okay.
at all. He bought the 3 blocks at different times down there in the lower east side next to the Hawthorne Bridge.
Yep.
One of them was underneath the bridge.
Yep.
Almost.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Yep.
I forgot the other part of the question.
The mentorship. So you weren't involved with him in the real estate side. Was he involved with you on the business side?
Dad was very, very conservative on the business side. He ran the shop, and that's what he was comfortable with. I was on fire, and I listened to a lot of audio tapes.
Okay.
Motivational audio tapes. A whole bunch of them.
Like Jim Rohn, who were your guys?
Exactly.
Yep.
Zig
Brian
Ziglar.
Tracy.
Zig Ziglar's my favorite. Yeah.
So, Waitley. Can't remember Waitley's first name. Anyway, a bunch of those, and I was just on fire.
Mm-hmm. Just woke up motivated every single day.
He was born that way.
Yeah.
Gary, you came out of the womb on fire. Nobody builds what you built without having that in your blood.
I have energy.
You have to go really fast in a circle in order to contain it.
No, he does them straight away.
Oh, straight away. You do the
trying to-
drag race.
Yeah, you go on 180 miles an hour. You don't want to take too many corners.
Good point. Good point.
Yesterday, I started the process of replacing an engine in a truck.
Okay.
So it's just there's stuff to do.
You're doing that yourself?
Yeah.
Cherry picker, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Gary, they don't make people like you anymore.
I've got a fresh engine and transmission ready to go into this truck.
Wow. What kind of truck is it? Is it a tow truck?
No. He doesn't work on tow truck.
Hey. Hey.
Unless it's going to be a dragster.
Don't count him out.
Okay, so I read this book called 1 Second After, and it's about a nuclear bomb that exploded in the atmosphere above North Carolina, and it caused an electromagnetic pulse. So everything electronic quit. People driving down the freeway in their BMW just coasted to a stop. So the main character in the book, his mother-in-law had a 59 Edsel, and it ran. And another guy had a couple older Volkswagen Bugs, and they ran. Another guy had an old military Jeep. It ran. So this is about the time that Rocket Man is sending rockets into the China Sea, and there's all this discussion about his nuclear program, and could that reach the West Coast? And I said, I think I need to find me an old truck. So I looked for 3 years, and every truck that I came across was either modernized with an electronic, or else it was just a rusty piece of junk.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I found one in Red Bluff, California. 61 F100. This is a truck that sold brand new for $2,000. Now that it's beat up and used up, I paid $6,500. And the guy says, well, it has a little oil leak. I says, I don't know of a Y block that doesn't leak. But the leak got too much. So I figured, okay, I got to put an engine in this guy. But I'm going to leave the old points condenser and the generator, no alternator. You know, it's an original truck. See, it had to be older than 65 so that it would have a generator. Because the electronic.
That's right. Run off computer.
So that's why I'm working on it.
So you're driving an analog truck. So you're not going to put a Coyote motor in that one. That one's going to have an old school motor.
Yeah, old school motor.
Is that down in Arizona then?
No, it's here.
Oh, okay. How much time are you spending in Arizona right now?
Too much.
6 months in a day, I take it,
Well,
for tax purposes.
yes, except it didn't quite work out that way. So I went through my calendar. I've been marking all year where we sleep. And I added up 142 days in Arizona, 122 days in Portland, and the others were travel or Black Butte. My wife has a house in Black Butte, so we go there sometimes.
That's a good breakdown of a year. 100 days traveling or in Black Butte.
Where do you guys like to travel to?
Wherever. In May, we're going across the, my wife is going to Australia next week.
Okay. You're not going with her?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't invited. It's a girls' trip.
Okay. That's a fun girls' trip.
In May, we're going across the Rocky Mountain here, across Canada,
Okay.
over to Toronto, and Niagara, and then up into Maine.
Okay. These are road trips? Motorhome?
Part of it.
Yeah.
No, it's a train trip.
Train trip. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun to
Wow.
go through Canada on a train.
And then in September, October, we'll be in Italy and a cruise around Greece.
There you go.
Wow.
So, different places.
So are you still, it sounds like you still enjoy building your empire. You're always going to be a builder, but you're at an age now where you can enjoy some of the fruits of your labor, and you're actually doing that.
Yes.
You're not just a workaholic. You're out having some fun.
Yes.
Building cars, racing cars, seeing the world. You're living the life we all want to live in our golden years.
I have said to my wife many times, we are so lucky.
Well, you worked hard for it.
Yeah, but I didn't set anything aside for retirement. I just figured my towing business would continue to pay me.
Yeah.
Well, it has to do well enough to do that, for one. And for another, fortunately, I've got some apartments.
Yeah. So it's a good thing Dad got you started with a little
Boy,
portfolio startup.
Like I said, when I saw the cash flow out of that 71 units in Beaverton, I thought, oh man, that's where I need to be.
You said, I got to work really hard to make that kind of money. I'd rather just get a check.
How long until you sold the property under the bridge after seeing that income statement?
Yeah, let's see. I think it was probably 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, and one of the factors there is when I sold it, I had to lease back the warehouse for a year because my new shop in Hillsboro wasn't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And because you got to have room for all this stuff.
Yeah, your type of businesses are land heavy, very land heavy.
Yeah.
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 Got to have a yard to park cars.
Yeah, and for perspective on people that are listening, we're talking about what's becoming one of the more dense parts of town, which was mostly vacant industrial land when you were operating, and now it's highly desirable. Well, it's a homeless camp now or was for a period of time.
It will be highly
It is. There's been a lot of development in that area. There's about to be a lot more development in that area. I do think the building that was built there got foreclosed on, though. I think is that the building that Kevin and I built with the trees on the sides of it? The property you sold under the bridge. It was right next to it.
Which one got
The blue building, brand new, really bright blue, and it has big pots, big trees in pots hanging off the sides of it, all over every side of it. Multiple trees on the side of the building.
near Water Avenue?
Yeah. Yeah. It might be the Morrison Bridge, not the Hawthorne Bridge, but it's right in that arena. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Sorry for the
Not
sidetrack there. Yeah.
Cool. Well, should we wrap this one up, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We'll come back. We'll take a little break, and we'll come back and we'll talk specifically about deals. But Gary, thanks for being on the show with us today. It's super inspiring to hear your story. It's fun to hang out with you. And we do this podcast in hopes of inspiring people to go out and buy real estate. And I think you've certainly done that for us today. So thanks for joining us. Deal Junkies, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.